If you've been connected to the FPS scene for a bit now, you can see that people are clamoring for a new big movement shooter. Fast movement is always exciting, and the increased exposure of Titanfall 2 has made people want a new game like it to be successful. There's also the phenomenon of people making movement montages for games like Apex Legends and the new Call of Duty for some reason. Those people being referred to as movement players. I can provide more examples, but you get the idea. People want more movement in their shooters. However, there's something a lot of these people are missing. Because while a lot of these games provide a lot of movement outside of combat, in an actual gunfight, these mechanics don't mean much, which is a missed opportunity for a more interesting gameplay. However, there are merits to your typical movement shooter. Let's go over them quickly to see why people are clamoring for a new one. Let's go over the most obvious one first. It feels good to go faster. A lot of games are built off speed because of this inherent appeal, one of these being Titanfall, which can be seen as the progenitor of the modern movement shooter trend. When it was released, a lot of shooters at the time had slower movement speed, which made Titanfall stand out from the crowd. More shooters proceeded to follow in the direction it took, and therefore higher movement shooters became more common. Another thing that people like about these games is the skill ceiling. This used to be a big problem with movement-based games, as some people find the concept of shooting a rocket at the floor or launch yourself too esoteric. However, this has been sidestepped thanks to modern movement shooters being more accessible while still having a skill ceiling. Apex Legends is a good example of this, and while it's still the basic slide and sprint, you also have a bunch of techniques that you can learn to go across the map faster. After all, nobody would make these movement montages if everyone could do it from the start. However, with a lot of these games, there's a lot of missed potential due to how the movement works. Because while the movement may be good, it doesn't really affect combat too much. If you look at any gameplay for Apex Legends, Titanfall 2, or one of the futuristic Call of Duty games, there's a lot of movement while traversing, but when both players are in a gunfight, there's not much movement at all. Halo Infinite may have a bunch of movement tech, but almost none of it is used in direct combat. Why is this? Because most of the movement is based off of sprinting, which makes sure you cannot fire while going at your maximum speed. Sure, sliding can preserve a bit of your speed, but it's only useful for entering a battle, as you're only going to get good momentum for it if you're already sprinting. Another common feature between these games is the feature of aiming down sights. In Apex, Titanfall, and COD, you must aim down sights to be accurate, with a few exceptions, of course. However, ADS also reduces your speed, therefore reducing your movement in a game that's supposed to be about, movement. Finally, another thing that can make the game's movement superfluous in combat is the low time to kill, which often makes it so the movement doesn't matter when you kill someone in the blink of an eye. All that matters is if you get to jump on the enemy. Once again, movement doesn't really matter in an actual gunfight. Not all of these factors apply with each game I talk about, but these games at least have 2 or 3 of them, which still isn't good. This isn't going into problems that general gaming audiences have, like the games being overall just sweatier and the rapid FOV changes making the gameplay hard to watch. However, this is not the case with all shooters that prioritize movement. These games mostly come after Titanfall, but not always was it the base for movement-based games, because once upon a time, the template that every shooter with a focus on movement was Quake. Quake is arguably the most important first-person shooter ever made, and for good reason. The basic foundations of its movement are still present in all these games I'm putting up on screen right now. It was the start of airstrafing, which is redirecting yourself midair with your mouse and strafe. B-hopping is a technique that compounds on top of it, allowing you to keep your momentum in the air by hitting jump when hitting the ground. In rocket jumping, you shoot yourself with a rocket while jumping to propel yourself. These mechanics not only allow you to go stupidly fast like a Genshin Impact player running from the FBI, but you can also still fire your weapon while still moving at these high speeds. Granted, you couldn't keep B-hopping forever, but the base movement was fast enough so regular ground encounters would be less of a western standoff and more of a Dragon Ball Z fight scene. Not only that, but you can still have the excitement and skill ceiling of your modern movement shooter. A lot of games of arena multiplayer would take after Quake's fast movement, such as Tribes and Unreal Tournament. This all sounds great, however, there's one thing critics will point to when you mention wanting this style back. The genre is dead. People will talk about how the movement is too hardcore and the games are simply outdated. However, one thing people will leave out is one game that may not be strictly an arena shooter, but still has a lot of influence from it. A game that has these high skill maneuvers along with some of their own, and still manages to pull a large player base to this day. Can you guess what? It's TF2. What else do you expect me to say here? TF2, as you know, is a sequel to Team Fortress, which was a Quake mod that naturally has a lot of the same mechanics as Quake. One of the main differences is that B-hopping is significantly less present in TF2, however everything else is preserved. Not only that, but it has its own movement mechanics like tripping and damage surfing. Movement is still very important in combat, as there is no inaccuracy while moving and the environments are made to be woven around with your movement, implementing cover to block damage or gain high ground. TF2 is very much a game in which movement is a prevalent part and selling point of the game, and still manages to be a popular game to this day. This proves to me that this classic style of movement can be still enjoyed by a modern audience, and therefore people will play it. However, it's not just multiplayer games that are focusing on movement more. There are also excellent single-player games that see success with a focus on movement. The best example of this is Doom Eternal, which I would consider to be the last great AAA FPS game. It fully pushes the player to be constantly on their feet making decisions, and movement is an integral element of this. You have 2 dashes to dodge, run away, or get in, a double jump for more vertical mobility, and your super shotgun has a grappling hook because that's cool. There's also plenty of different environmental features that further boost this already incredible mobility, and overall it feels great to expertly evade your enemies. There's a reason this game ended up becoming a Game of the Year nominee, only to be robbed by the game that shall not be named. Another great FPS game that focuses on movement is Ultra Kill, which also provides high movement options at dashes, wall jumps, and an encounter art to why sprint should stay as a slide enabler. It doesn't need to stay, we can just slide. It also has more weapon and sandbox focused movement and rocket riding into copious amount of momentum gained from explosives, making some battles in Ultra Kill feel like you're a pinball. In a good type of way, not the Overwatch type of way. And while it may not have the same clout in terms of critical acclaim, it rightly secures a spot on the top-rated games on Steam. But why am I even talking about any of this? Well, if a new movement shooter comes out, I think we should learn more from these classic-style movement shooters rather than the modern model. The first thing that we should take away is that we should allow full usage of the weapon while moving. This means no movement inaccuracy, no ADS, or anything else that detracts from the movement and combat being intertwined. Otherwise, you get an Apex Legends situation where movement is only used to get into a fight and then both people just look down to iron sights at each other. How riveting. Speaking of Apex Legends, we should just limit animations that prevent people from doing other actions in general. That means no sprint, clamor, or any form of that. Not only does it make movement painful to look at with all the FOV changing, but it once again divorces movement and combat. If you want to go faster, increase the movement speed, and if you want to go to higher places, make the jump higher. It's that simple. The third tenet we should pick up is that momentum is king. Allow momentum from any action to carry, but don't make it too easy to build up speed. Otherwise, the game becomes unreadable. Don't make the strafe instant either, as that makes dodging attacks far too easy and cheapens movement. Everything should have a natural flow to it. And the fourth thing that we should take away from this is that maps should matter more. If the map isn't interesting to traverse around, what's the point? There should be more environmental factors that can lead to tricky routing or potentially cause speed boosts. It doesn't have to be anything big either. In TF2, every ramp can potentially boost blast jumping and shield charge if you hit them at the correct angle and speed. Just make it so the map has more to offer to you. Overall, I just really hope that the modern movement shooter can become more interesting. I'm tired of games where we're mostly just standing still while shooting a gun and wish we can go back to when battles were more dynamic. The only modern shooter that really achieves this is Overwatch, and that game is... Look, this doesn't have it for no reason, okay? I really love being able to make more decisions in a battle with movement. It's a shame that the game is heralded for your movement. Don't focus on this at all. Thanks for watching, tell me what you think, and I'll see you next time.